And welcome back, everyone, to episode 14 of the Sports Coverage Podcast. My name is Andrew, and I'm alongside my co host, as always, Vince. We have a good amount to talk about this week. The MLB offseason has started. College basketball, unfortunately, we're not going to get to this week, but you'll hear a lot more about it in the coming episodes. We have a ton of football, as always, and some NBA. So let's hop right into it with the NFL. So the second edition of this season's Frankfurt games will happen this Sunday at 9:30 and will feature the Patriots versus the Colts. Any predictions for this game? I know it's not the best international game we've had this year, but it's still cool to see these games happening overseas.
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea that the NFL is doing when they're bringing teams to different countries to play our sport. It's really great. I find it pretty unique. But back to what you said about predictions, I think that the Colts will get a nagging victory. I don't think they're going to destroy the Patriots, but I think they're going to win by a short amount. But. And another thing I just want to mention, last week, the Chiefs did play the Dolphins, and it was not the best game we were talking about. I remember last week we were saying that this might be the game of the year. We were saying that this might have been one of the best games that we've seen this season, at least. And well, it turned out I wouldn't say great. I mean, the Dolphins did not want to play offense. Tyreek Hill was talking a lot and did not prove it. He didn't back it up. And I found that horrible to believe that he's such a talented player. And wait, I just want to, before we go on, do you agree with me that he is the number one receiver in football?
I'm going to go with yes. And I think A.J. Brown right now looks to be a close second. Everyone's been talking about them breaking the records, getting to 1,000 yards before halfway through the season, which is crazy for both of them. But I think Tyreek Hill is just the better receiver out of the two of them. And if Justin Jefferson had played the whole season and he's still going to be out, it looks like this week, I think that it would definitely be fun to see the three of them battling it out for potentially like offensive player of the year or something like that. But something I want to talk about for the game from last week, watching that fumble live was really sad.
Stop. Oh,
it was
oh
it was sad.
Oh my
it
God.
was sad.
Oh my God. Listen, I just don't understand. And I don't mean listen, I love Tyreek Hill, I love the Dolphins organization, I love everything about that team. They've been my team since day one, but you can't talk all that and not back it up. I don't know if you agree with that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely.
You can't talk about that. I mean, I know it's his former team, but you can't talk like that and not prove and show what you were capable to do in the National Football League, known as the number one receiver in football, and you can't prove it. And if you can't prove it, you're not gonna be known as the number one receiver in football. Listen, I want to be a little biased and say he is, but if he's not gonna be like that, like the guy around in Miami, then it's gonna be a complete disaster. And before we go on with all the international news and all that, I want to talk about the Dolphins. I know this is not really off script, but listen, I don't know if you've seen post social media that we are 6-0 against teams under 500, and we are 0-3 against teams above 500.
Right.
But I just want to say something, and I want to get your opinion on this. Do you agree that? And I don't know if you check schedules. Obviously, I'm a Dolphins fan. I check every day. I'm social with Dolphins. I check them every day. So when you look at the games we lost, the first loss we had was against the Bills in Buffalo, which is one of the hardest atmospheres to play in the National Football League.
Definitely, yeah.
Then our second loss came to the Eagles in Philadelphia, again known as one of the craziest states to have the craziest fans. Pennsylvania is known to having amazing fans. We've seen it with the Phillies this past season. Red October. Penn State, great fans. So that's another hard place to play. And our last loss came to the Chiefs in, yes, a neutral site, but think about it. We're not at home, all right? I understand we've won games away, but we lost all these games away. I don't know if you kind of agree with me that it's kind of like an away. We're not at home winning teams against 500. That's just kind of my theory. And I think if we play teams above 500, at home, maybe we can actually win.
But that's something that they got to get used to then, because they're not going to be winning the Super Bowl if they can't play.
And especially in a neutral site like that, and especially, when it comes to being in the playoffs. If you're not going to be, and I'm just saying, just say that they don't make it. Say they're not like the second seed, third seed. And I'm not saying they won't, but I'm just saying, just for an example, say they're not a second or first seed. they're not gonna have good playoff when it comes to like home field advantage and stuff. They're not gonna be good. It's gonna be difficult for them, especially to play away. So I don't know if they're gonna be capable enough to even win in the playoffs if they're gonna be losing to above 500 teams.
Yeah, and if I'm looking at the schedule, I see two potentially good teams that you're going to be playing home against. One home
The
against the
Cowboys,
Cowboys, and then one
yeah.
home against the Bills to end the season.
But
So
listen. I want to point something out real quick that the Bills, we actually have a shot at winning. And I'm just gonna say that, listen, we beat them last year in a hot, sunny day in Miami. I remember that day was really hot. I mean, that was just it was brutal that day. And I don't
yeah,
blame the Bills for not being able to go out and win that game. It's hard to play in Miami. Just the weather it's kind of horrendous. I mean, everyone loves it, but it's really horrendous. So I don't know. It can definitely be a disadvantage for away teams that come to Miami, play in Miami Gardens. But yeah, I don't know. I don't think maybe I kind of agree with like saying that the Cowboys can beat the Dolphins. I'm not saying they will, but I'm saying they could possibly. I just don't think the Bills will. I just don't. I just don't
yeah.
think they will.
And if I'm looking at games that you might have where you're playing away against good teams, you got the Ravens in week 16, it looks like, away,
Which
which
is
is
which
going to
is
be an
which is
interesting game.
another hard game, man. The Ravens have been looking phenomenal. I don't know if you've kept up with
Yeah.
them recently, but they are looking good. And I'm telling you right now, they are definitely a dark horse to make it to the Super Bowl.
Yeah. And then you got the Friday after Thanksgiving. Um,
Black Friday.
yeah, you guys are away against the Jets, and the Jets aren't the most competitive team, I would say, at the moment, but it should be fun for you guys. If you think does have something to do with atmosphere to play in MetLife with the New York fans. So we're gonna move on a little from that all scripted segment. You're welcome to all you Miami fans. So we were talking about Frankfurt games. So Gardner Minshew is probably going to be starting this game for the Colts again. Mac Jones starting the game for the Patriots. These guys have not. I mean, Gardner Minshew's been okay, but Mac Jones has not lived up to its potential this year. So I'm going to go with the Colts as well. I think that the Patriots have just not. This isn't their year. I think they're just going to need to start their rebuild at the end of the year and move on. So some big news. Kyler Murray will be making a return from his injury this week. So there were some talks about Kyler Murray getting traded, something like that. But they've said that's not going to happen. He's going to be starting. They traded away Joshua Dobbs, who is probably their better quarterback. So what do you think about this?
Yeah, I mean, Joshua Dobbs did come off, going to a new team in the trade deadline, not knowing the system that the Vikings run, especially because due to the fact that they have a veteran quarterback playing for them, and Justin and Kirk Cousins. So due to the fact that he didn't know his team, well, as soon as it wasn't even a week. It was under a week that he had joined the Vikings. I don't know if you saw this clip throughout the internet where actually Joshua Dobbs was practicing his call out to the offensive lineman on the sideline before the
Yeah,
game, which
I
I
did see
find
that.
very, very, I find that pretty important as a quarterback. And I think that Joshua Dobbs is doing the right thing in Minnesota. I think that this team still has a shot at making the playoffs. I highly doubt they won't, but Joshua Dobbs has been looking phenomenal. I mean, he came out with a underdog story, coming back from multiple, getting cuts, and I like this story. It's an underdog story, and maybe he won't last with the Vikings for so long due to the fact that they have Kirk Cousins, but still, it's still such a good underdog story.
Yeah, definitely. And they won't have Kirk Cousins towards the end until the end of the year. And their rookie QB suffered a concussion. So it'll be at least a couple more weeks for Joshua Dobbs to show what he's got. Last week, CJ Stroud had the game of his career so far.
Amazing.
And that was the last drive. For those of you who haven't seen it, Tank Dell and those guys really stepped up. And CJ Stroud is I think now should have gone number one.
Listen,
Yeah.
people doubted him coming into this draft, saying whether or not he should go number one or number two, and I thought that it would honestly be Bryce Young, but now seeing what CJ does now in the National Football League when he's playing good defenses, it's pretty crazy. And I want to mention something that you realize that his head coach he's a defensive minded head coach. So the fact that CJ Shark could still ball out with not the greatest staff. He obviously plays with the Houston Texans, which is known as not the best franchise in NFL history, but still, he is looking great. And I think that he should have gone number one, in my opinion. But listen, watch out for Anthony Richardson, baby. Next year, it's his comeback.
Yeah. We'll see. I agree. Anthony Richardson looked good. Hopefully his injury doesn't affect him too much in his career. But CJ Stroud, he looks like a beast. So the
For sure.
next note that we have is just Tommy DeVito ... And that's pretty much every Giants fan's like mind right now. It's just Tommy DeVito is now our starting quarterback. So we're
I
gonna
mean,
have
listen, he grew up, in New Jersey, obviously, and due to the fact that he's probably living a dream right now. I mean, he's playing for what he would known as he's like it's a childhood dream of anyone to play for a hometown team. I don't know if that's just
yeah, it's
what
like
I
the
feel
Anthony
like, but
Volpe
it's
story.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's pretty crazy and it's pretty special. But again, he is the only quarterback to still live with his parents.
Yeah, for those of you who have ESPN and stuff, they were kind of pushing that story out about how he still lives with his parents and commutes to the games. So Tommy DeVito is going to be the Giants quarterback. This season's kind of over for us, and it's pretty bad. So we'll see what he could do. We'll see if he could prove himself. He got his first rushing touchdown a couple weeks ago, but had negative passing yards, so not great. But we are going to move on to where a lot of these young quarterbacks we were just talking about came from, the NCAA, and it's time for the game of the week. My game of the week was Michigan versus Penn State. We are recording this after this game happened, by the way. So this was less of an interesting game than I thought it would be. There were some cool moments that I saw, but Michigan kind of ran away with it. And we're going to speak more about Michigan later, but I think this was a cool game to see. And I'm happy to see that Penn State was still able to compete with this very strong Michigan team. Vince, what about
Yeah, I
you?
mean, listen, I would take the University of Florida versus LSU due to the fact that I love Florida, and I think this is one of the best SEC rivalries, maybe even college football rivalries of all time. But listen, I grew up a UM fan. I grew up in Miami, so I'm taking UM versus FSU. I just think that that's the better rivalry in my opinion. Although I love UF, I just think that UM versus FSU just it's why people go to both of these schools. People go to FSU to play against UM. People go to FSU, UM to play FSU. This is the most important game I would say that both of these teams have on their schedule every single year. Due to the fact that they're both ACC rivalry schools and they're both in-state rivalries. And I know that not many people might understand where I'm coming from, but this rivalry is so special to me through the fact that I love the Hurricanes. And, as of recording, this game already did happen, and UM ended up losing. We had a shot, all right? I don't know, Andrew, if you were watching the game, but UM had a shot, and we just gave it away just like we did in the Georgia Tech game. So I just want to come out and say that Cristobal is doing a horrible job. I don't know what his mind was
Oh
going.
boy.
I don't know. Listen. I don't know what was going through his mind. I don't know what was going through his mind. I don't know why we wasted timeouts after timeouts after timeouts. And another thing, I just want to send my prayers to the freshman, the true freshman quarterback. His last name is Williams. I forgot his first name, but that plays for the University of Miami. But I just sent my prayers out. He did go down with an injury. We ended up getting the first down. He did, end up getting an injury to, help us win. And that's why people play football, to help their team win. He's a team player, and I'm just sending my prayers out to him. Tyler Van Dyke did come in for him and did not end up taking over for him and win, but still, it was still a really special game, and I'm happy for FSU a little bit, but at the same time, I'm not. But
Yeah.
yeah, they did end up clinching a spot in the ACC title game, so good luck to them, and hopefully they can win.
Yeah, and speaking of title games, so the SEC title game is once again going to come down to Georgia and Alabama, as announced today, just because of the way the season worked out. And that is going to be a crazy game for just everyone involved. And they haven't met each other yet this season, so it's going to be cool to see what happens there. What do you think, Vince?
I kind of want to go with the underdog story. I think Jalen Milroe had a hell of a game today against Kentucky. I don't know. I mean, 5 total
Yeah, he
touchdowns,
and he
just
went down with
phenomenal,
injury
just
twice.
phenomenal,
Yeah.
man. Man, just great job by Jalen Milroe just to get inside the end zone today. So yeah, I think that Alabama does have a shot, but yeah, that one loss is going to definitely be crucial for them when it comes to obviously advancing to the college football playoff.
Yeah. And speaking of
But again,
losses,
but
yeah.
again, hold on. But again, if you beat Georgia, they're possibly not even going to make the playoffs. So that would also already be a great story for you guys.
Yeah. And speaking of losses, Colorado has now dropped 4 straight games after losing to Arizona earlier today.
Listen, I'm
From
sorry. I'm
yeah,
sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for all the hype I gave to them at the beginning of the season, saying that Travis Hunter was going to win Heisman, that Shador Sanders was going to win Heisman. I thought wrong. All right, that's my apologies to everyone that's listening to the podcast. I'm sorry.
yeah. This has kind of fallen apart. And I agree, they were overhyped, not just by you, but I think everyone in the entire country
And the
hopped on the
nation, man,
Colorado
it's
bandwagon. Yeah.
oof. I
So
hopped on it.
yeah, it's sad to see them fall like this, and I think they'll be able to rebuild in the next couple years. Coach Prime's got this. Don't worry.
Yeah, don't worry. He's got a phenomenal staff with him. He's got a phenomenal job of just getting players to come to, play with for him. He's a great coach. We see what he did this year at the beginning of the season. Now, not so now this ending of the season. But yeah, just hopefully praying that he does better going into
Yeah.
his second season with Colorado.
So, Michigan head coach Jim Harbaugh has been banned from the sidelines of Michigan's next 3 regular season games, 2 now actually, because of a violation of Big Ten's sportsmanship policy in wake of the cheating scandal. Michigan fired back at the league, saying the suspension went against the league's basic rules. So, we saw a little bit back and forth on social
Uh,
media and stuff.
I
This
mean,
is interesting.
the amount of times like I told you that Friday was just on and off on ESPN was only about Jim Harbaugh and if he would deal with the suspension, on Friday at night around Friday evening, they did announce that he would serve a 3-game suspension. As we know that Michigan did end up beating Penn State, but there's still 2 games remaining under his suspension. Now, I think the interim head coach, I don't know his name exactly, but I think that he can lead this team to 2 more victories. I just don't think it's going to be that hard for this Michigan team due to the fact that they are coached by one of the coaches to ever coach the game of football, not just in the NFL and not just in college football. So I think that this Michigan team still has it in them. I still think that they can make it to the college football playoff. But remember, again, they have to play Ohio State at the end of the year. And trust me, Andrew, that's not going to be an easy one.
Yeah, I agree. So, do you think that Jim Harbaugh could get fired and ultimately make a run for the NFL again?
I don't think he'll get fired, honestly. I just think that honestly, it really just depends whether or not the Big Ten is still going to be mad at him. I know he is serving his suspension, but it really just depends. But I do not think he will come back to the NFL just due to the fact out of all the stuff he's done with the NCAA in recent history. So I just don't think he will at all.
Yeah, and I think that it seems like Michigan is definitely standing behind him, especially with their social media posts and announcements they've made.
And
The last
free
couple
gym,
days.
yeah, all that, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right, we're gonna move on to the NBA. So, due to Victor Wembanyama and Chet Holmgren's amazing performances, do you think that those two are the front runners for Rookie of the Year?
For sure. And I know people might think that, oh, Victor Wembanyama is going to win the Rookie of the Year. No, he's not. Chet Holmgren has been looking phenomenal, all right? He is more physical, more humble, more talented, and he's more of a leader in general. I don't know if you kind of agree with what I'm saying, but I just think that Chet Holmgren has looked like the better person. I just think around his teammates, he's better. Being himself, he's better. Just playing the game of basketball, Chet Holmgren is better at all these 4 things I listed. So, no, I do not think that Victor Wembanyama will win the Rookie of the Year this season.
That's a hot take. We'll check back in on that in a couple months. So, the big news that happened this week, James Harden was traded to the Clippers after months of stalemate with the 76ers and the Clippers after requesting a trade earlier this offseason. He didn't play the first couple games, but next 3 games have all been dropped by the Clippers, so it doesn't seem to be working out too well for them so far. Was this the right move?
I think it was the right move, but also, you know, it again, I would have liked if this trade happened in the offseason, just due to the fact that, James Harden could get along with his teammates a little better, not joining the season with them so late. But yeah, I don't know. I like this move, but we're definitely gonna have to wait and see if this team can really just follow through and get set in, because we know that they are one of the best teams in the NBA right now, just due to the fact that they have Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, and Russell Westbrook and James Harden. So that's just already phenomenal. But yeah, we just have to just really pay attention closely.
Yeah, I agree. And one last thing on the injury front in the NBA, Jamal Murray and Tyler Hero are going to be sidelined are going to be sidelined until further notice for with injuries. So we're going to move on to the MLB, and there's been a lot of managerial moves in the last couple weeks. So the Mets hired former Yankees bench coach Carlos Mendoza as their manager since the letting go of Buck Showalter earlier this offseason. And the Guardians have hired former Athletics player Stephen Vogt as their manager after the retiring of managerial legend Terry Francona. So I just want to talk about this one real quick. He just retired within the last 2 years, and I think it's interesting because he doesn't seem like the managerial type of guy, but he definitely he still has that veteran mentality to him, and I think he's going to do a very good job leading this Guardians team, J Ram and all those guys. And last but not least, the most surprising one, Cubs hire former Brewers manager Craig Counsell and sign him to a deal worth over $40 million, which many are saying is going to be the change in managerial salaries for the next couple years. And we're stepping into a time where managers are going to be worth a lot more and making a lot more. So what do you think about this moves by the Cubs?
Yeah, I mean, $40 million is a lot to pay for not only a person within the franchise, but again, a manager. That's not something you would usually do. I don't know if that's just what my perspective when it comes to paying with a franchise. But yeah, again, I think that this was kind of the right move for them. I mean, again, it's a lot. It's a huge paycheck, but yeah, I think the Cubs will definitely benefit from this for sure.
Yeah, I agree. So we're going to do a quick off-season preview because there's a lot of moves to be made this off-season, starting with Cody Bellinger of right now the Cubs. We'll see what happens to him this off-season. So there's been a lot of rumors swirling. Will he go back to the Cubs? Yankees have been a big option, and I personally think they really need him. So do you have a particular landing spot for Cody Bellinger?
See, now I think he really did enjoy his time with the Cubs last season. I think that he did a great job with them, and I think that the Cubs liked having him around in that clubhouse. So, no, I do not think he will go to the Yankees. Sadly, I do like the Yankees, so I wish Cody Bellinger would go, but I just don't think it's the right move for him and his man, like just his agent and everything. I just think he should stay where he is put with the Cubs.
Yeah, and he did play very well this season. I'm going to disagree. I think he's going to go somewhere. I still think Yankees are the
I
front
don't know.
runners, but
Listen,
I don't know if
he
Cubs are the right
he
place.
just looked like he looked like he had a fun time in Chicago. So I just don't think it will work out as well.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see. Moving on to the big guy this offseason, Shohei Ohtani. This one, I don't care. I don't think the Yankees are going to get him, but he has
Mhm.
said that he has known where he wants to sign with for months already, and he pretty much has a deal ready, which is something interesting that we don't see a lot, especially from a guy like Shohei Ohtani, who would probably want to just wait for the bids to go all the way up. So, what do you think that very important landing spot is that he really wants to be at?
I think he wants to go to the biggest market in baseball, and not talking about the Yankees. I'm talking about the Mets. All right, I know. Listen, it's New York. All right, it's New York. They traded away a lot of valuable assets that they were paying millions and millions and millions of dollars for this past midseason at the trade deadline. So, due to the fact that they traded all these guys, I think that they opened up a lot of cap room, and I think that Shohei Ohtani would be the right guy for that system, just due to the fact that I think he not only he will enjoy it, but he will enjoy getting the paycheck from this Mets team that I think they are definitely willing to pay.
So I think my front runner, he's gonna move crosstown and he's gonna go to the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think that they have been
Oh, you know
waiting for
what?
an ace like
Mhm.
that. I think that he is going to be the bat that's going to fit in between Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman. And that would mean that the Dodgers hopefully wouldn't choke as hard in the playoffs this year. I think Dodgers have the money. Dodgers are looking for a guy like him. I think he's going to Los Angeles Dodgers.
I like that take, but I don't know. I think he wants to go to the bigger market. I just think that's my perspective. I know he doesn't play for the money. I know he plays for the passion, the sport. He grew up in Japan, and we know Japan is known for their baseball. They are known for being
I mean, they did win the WBC. Yeah.
I know. Listen, fanatics. So yeah, again, I know he loves the game. I know he has a passion for the sport. So I don't know. I kind of like what you're saying, but again, I think he's gonna go chase the money here and go with the bigger market in New York.
Interesting. So something we talked about a couple weeks ago, but not super in depth, Juan Soto getting traded, and it seems for the Padres that they've said it's their only option right now. So they've spent a lot of money on him, a lot of valuable prospects, sending him to Washington. So now Juan Soto on the trade block. Where's he landing?
Listen, I can't really picture anything on my mind right now of where Juan Soto would possibly be able to go, but I do think he will get traded. And a little bell rings in my mind now that I'm thinking about this topic. I don't know if that rings to your bell in your head, Andrew, but the Yankees kind of just ring a bell, man.
Yes.
I just think that the Yankees are the right move for Juan Soto. I know he does it for the money, all right? I know it's, everyone does it for the game, but listen, I know Juan Soto likes the money. I know he likes the paycheck. I know he likes what he's doing. So, yet again, he is going to the biggest team in the Major League Baseball. He is going to the best market in sports. So, yeah, it's a great move for Juan Soto. He's getting the paycheck and he's playing with a phenomenal franchise. So, I mean, I don't think it's a win-win, all right? In my opinion.
I wholeheartedly agree with that statement. Juan Soto, listen, we need a left fielder. We've needed a left fielder for a while. He's not the best contact hitter. I think that's more of a Cody Bellinger type thing to get a contact consistent hitter. That's Juan Soto's a good addition to the lineup.
And again, I like that. Again, I like what you said about Cody Bellinger going to the Yankees. I just don't think it will happen. Again, they like contact hitters, but that just think about it. That outfield of the Yankees just full of power hitters. So I just don't know where, Juan Soto will fit in that rotation, to be honest. But yeah, I think he will go to the Yankees, if anything.
And they've already said they're talking with him, which is a good sign for us.
Yeah.
And I hope it does end up happening. But a trade that the Yankees may be making is Gleyber Torres, and that's been rumored for the last couple off seasons. And they've said the Red Sox might potentially be making a trade with the Yankees for Gleyber Torres, which would definitely free up some space in our infield, make sure DJ LeMahieu, probably our best contact hitter, is getting reps every day at second base. And I think that it would be an interesting move if we get some prospects, potentially good outfielder, relief pitchers, which are things that we need. So it might be an interesting trade. I don't hate it, but I don't know if getting rid of Gleyber Torres is the right move right now.
Listen, I don't think the Yankees are going to trade with their rival. I just don't think it's possible. You're not going to want to trade away a good asset like Gleyber Torres to a rival like the Red Sox. This is one of the greatest rivalries in the history of sports. So knowing that due to the fact that this will only benefit the Red Sox, I don't think the Yankees are going to want to make this move. I know that the Red Sox are interested, but are the Yankees interested in trading him to the Red Sox? I would see where it's coming from of why they would want to trade Gleyber Torres, and I agree with trading him. But I just don't think that trading him to the Red Sox is the best for the Yankees. All right, I know it can benefit the Red Sox, but not the Yankees. That's just how I feel personally. I just don't think he will do good with it. I just don't think it will benefit the Yankees as much.
Like, yeah, I think it
going to a rival team is just not. It's not like what you do in sports. You don't trade. It's like saying this. It's like saying if Khalil Mack from the Chargers got traded to the Chiefs. It's like saying you're trading away with a rival. And that's not something we really see in sports. So, yet again, I just don't think this will happen.
Yeah, and you said that it's probably not possible for the Yankees to do. But remember who our general manager is. anything's possible at this point. So we'll see what happens there. Next, we got Jordan Montgomery, who emerged as a postseason hero and was very good in the latter half of the season for the championship Texas Rangers. He is a free agent now. Yankees reunion happening. I don't know. Staying with the Rangers, I don't know. What do you think?
Well, I think he did really enjoy his time with the Rangers, and I know that the Rangers obviously did deal with pitching rotations when it came into the postseason this year. But yet again, they still ended up winning the World Series due to their role players on the offensive side of the ball. So pitchers are one of the most important positions in baseball, without a doubt. But I just don't think that Jordan Montgomery would have been the best move for any other team. I think that the Rangers would want to keep him. I just think he had too much of a great time with them, and I think he would want to re-sign him. And it doesn't matter about the money to him; it's about the passion of the team.
Yeah. So next we have Japan pitching phenom Yamamoto, who has been rumored to have been talking to a lot of MLB teams, and it looks like he will be coming to America this year. And once again, the Yankees are a front runner to sign this guy, and I think it would really complete our rotation, which has been missing a few spots. And I think that we say this every year, but I think we would have the best rotation in baseball pending no injuries.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of agree with that. I think he's a phenom in Japan, and I don't know. I don't know. I'm just what I'm saying, but I just feel like, what if like Shohei went to the Yankees and so did he? I don't know, maybe like connection because of like how well both of them did end up playing in Japan. Obviously, they didn't play together, but they
Well,
came
they
from.
did play WBC.
Oh, they did.
Which was cool.
Oh
Yeah.
well. Oh yeah. Well. Oh, all right. Well, yeah. So they've already played with each other. That they might have some chemistry there. So maybe, I mean, I don't totally agree with Shohei going to the Yankees, but Yamamoto going to the Yankees would. I mean, I kind of agree with what you're saying. So yeah, I totally agree with that for sure.
Yeah. So next we have another pitcher, Aaron Nola. I don't picture this guy anywhere other than
Nowhere.
Philly.
He's staying in Philly.
He's staying in Philly.
He's staying
Yeah.
in Philly.
We can move on from that one.
Listen,
Yeah.
we just like it doesn't. There's nothing in my head that says where he will go. I think it's strictly Philly, and I think he's strictly going to be with the Phillies his whole entire career.
Yeah. And last but not least, for this episode at least, we have Matt Chapman, who played very, very, very well for the Blue Jays this year. And to start off the season, was batting over 300, ton of home runs. He looked very good. What do you think about Matt Chapman?
Yeah, I think he did pretty good this year. But I don't know. Ever since he left the Oakland Athletics, I just don't think he will stay with the Blue Jays.
He seemed kind of lost. I think he's just wandering right now.
Yeah, I think I don't know if he's in the right place in time at the exact moment, but I don't think anything really just tells me, yeah, he's going there. He's not going there. There's nothing really in my head, but I don't think he would. He definitely is not going to the Blue Jays. That's for sure. He's not going back.
Yeah, I think Matt Chapman is just going to kind of be a bidding war of whoever thinks that they can get him, because I think he really would fit anywhere on any team. He's got good chemistry, and I just think that he'll be a valuable asset to a bunch of different teams. So we are going to move on to our fast fact. As always, we close the episode with this. And the first ever Las Vegas Grand Prix in Formula One will be held next weekend in Las Vegas and feature the famous Las Vegas Strip as the main straightaway on the track. Though the championship has already been won by Max Verstappen, this is still a highly anticipated event and will mark another stepping stone in the US's involvement in the sport. It's really cool to see this happening. There's been a lot of hype around the event. Ticket prices are absolutely insane, and I'm excited to see what happens here. I think Max Verstappen is too good, and he's probably going to win this again, but it's going to be cool to see these Formula One cars zooming down the strip.
Yeah, I mean, not only is Max Verstappen known as the, I would say, GOAT of, Formula One.
Yeah, at least I just think now,
listen, he's just no one's better than him. All right. And I just think it's going to be another easy win for him, in my opinion. I just think that he will end up winning this. So there's no one really in my mind that comes, Lewis Hamilton is washed. And I just think Max Verstappen is better.
I agree with that. No, we'll end it there.
Red Bull on top. Red Bull on top.
Yeah, I like that take. We'll end it there. All right, that is the 14th episode of the Sports Coverage Podcast. As always, like, subscribe, follow the Instagram where we announce when we will be posting these. Thank you, everyone, for listening. We're going to have a ton of basketball for you next week, so stay tuned and potentially a guest. We are not sure yet. Thank you, everyone, for listening, and we will see you next week.